When you have to stay in a place, you find 1,000 reasons to stay in a place.
Yes.
And when you don't want to stay in a place, you find out 1 lakh reasons to not stay in that place. Very, very confused. And we said, okay, you know what? We've got our PRs. Let's give ourselves a few more years to decide what is the right choice and what is the right thing for us. Let's not make a hazy decision because we were not very clear. So, health perspective, I was feeling better here in terms of environment, in terms of safety, going out at night, coming late at night, all of that I was feeling better. I was coming to Canada every year.
Oh, okay.
Since 2018. And I was trying to complete 2 months, 2.5 months with my son because our plan was to not come back to Canada.
Okay.
But just complete our days to complete our PR obligation and then eventually have our citizenship for our son. So we had planned it that way.
Okay.
But what happened was pandemic struck. COVID happened. Honestly, I feel that kids of first generation immigrants in Canada are more rooted than the kids in India. They are more westernized.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Desi Return. Today, we have Miss Tamana on our show. Miss Tamana went to Canada in 2016. After trying out for an year, she has decided to move back to India. And they lived in India for almost 3 to 4 years before moving back to Canada. And they're currently living in Canada. They're happy there. But I'm definitely curious and understand some of her journey, like why they moved to India, how the life was, and what made the family to move back to Canada, and what changed their mind. So definitely looking forward to insights. I think the goal here is to bring the two sides of the coin, right? I think our channel motto is to provide information so people can make an informed decision of staying abroad or moving back. So we are not for anything, but we want people to make a decision, informed decision. So I felt this episode would be very helpful for people so they understand, the reasons why some families think, a particular place is better for their family situation. So I'm really thankful for you to be on our show and willing to share your journey, your circumstances, and your thought process that could help our audience. So really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's a pleasure being here. And
That's
I'm
great.
all set to share all the honest, feelings and my honest journey. And it is going to be completely personalized. What was best for our family? How did things work? So I'm not here giving any kind of, advices to people. I'm learning myself. But this is what worked out for us. This is what was destined for us. And that's a family dynamic. So this is what it is. And that's how we'll share the honest journey here.
Definitely. This is your personal journey, personal perspectives, and you did the right thing for your family. So that's, I think, the underlining information here. So let's start a bit about your background, what you were doing in India and why you moved to Canada at the first place.
Okay, so I hail from a very small town, Ludhiana. It's in Punjab. And I was an educator there, although I'm an MBA from Pune. And then I got married and I went into education sector and I was teaching there in one of the private schools in Ludhiana. So, Punjab is very, at that time, everybody wants to move abroad. And my brother was here in Canada. So in 2014-15, we decided that we wanted to give it a try. My husband had a self-employed, he was self-employed and he was running a business like 99% of people in Punjab would do. They're into business. So my journey is going to be very different to what it looks like people in the South because I'm a North Indian and it is very different in terms of the background. So he was running his business. It's a small industry. And because at that time, cycle parts, the business that he was in there, so was going through a lot of turmoil at that time, ups and downs, which is a part and parcel of businesses. But we wanted to give it a try. We wanted to come to try Canada. So we decided to come to Canada and we applied for a PR directly. We did not come any other visa. We just applied for a PR, and within 8 to 9 months we got our PR because we were in our 20s at that time, late 20s, and I had post graduation plus enough work experience to apply for the PR, and can, like, at that time I got, because of my portfolio, I got the PR very easily. And then we moved to Canada in 2016, in the month of March.
So how was the move and how was the life in Canada in 2016 when you moved?
Okay, so all the stories and the things and the pop that social media has done right now, everywhere, that this is happening in Canada, that is happening. At that time, it wasn't that opulent. It wasn't very open about and about. And however, at that time, people used to say it is a gold mine and people are minting money there in 2016. Like, there was no sign of recession. However, when we moved, because of the careers that we came from.
Yeah.
So my husband was a businessman and not in IT, or although he's an MBA from Symbiosis, but he had always been in his family business. He's never worked a job. He's always joined his family business. So, and I was an educator and I'm an MBA too, but I've did not pursue a corporate career. I was in education. So in order to get into education in Canada, it takes it takes approximately a year. And because I'm really passionate about my career and I wanted to get into the same career, so that is what I wanted to do. So me and my husband could not get into the careers that we had come from.
Got it.
So that's the point, right? So, and a lot of information was not out there. A lot of information was not available at that time. Now everything, even if you want to buy a needle, you find videos and reels and all the the social media has positively impacted the information about all these move and anything around. It has impacted. So we weren't very aware. So instead of living in an apartment, we rented a house, because eventually my in-laws had to come, because my son was very attached to my in-laws, and he was just 6 years old at that time.
6 years old. Okay.
Yes. So those were the expenses, and plus there were other expenses when you come from a very comfortable background, and you do not move when you're in your 21 or 22 as a student, or you move when you are comfortable in your careers, and that time you do not want to compromise on your lifestyle, actually. So very clearly, we did not compromise on our lifestyle. So, you want to make sure that it's comfortable for everybody. It's comfortable for child. It's comfortable for your parents who are coming on a visitor, to make sure that they're comfortable. They're living in a comfortable space. So because of that, the expenses were a lot. Why the expenses were a lot? Because at that time, we did not start earning in dollars. So that was a major difference. It wasn't a lot, at that time, whatever we rented out a house for, you don't even get a basement right now for that much money. Yeah. So times have changed, but because for that year, everything is very expensive. You are settling into a new house, you're getting into, and whatever you've anticipated, it is way more than what you anticipate. And income is not flowing in terms of dollars. So you're spending all the hard-earned money in rupees, which in conversion is a lot, and you keep converting that for a year. So settlement phase was a lot of expenses financially, struggling to get into our own careers, finding out business opportunities, looking for that. Plus, my son had a lot of problem adjusting into the school system here.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would not say directly, but yes, indirect racism. It's not there anymore. Or maybe, I just recently spoke to somebody, because I have my own social media page. I connect with a lot of people. So I met somebody who also shared the same story, that they had to move back because in a specific region, where there are not a lot of South Asians. So they faced a lot of, the child I was finding it very hard to adjust because he had a turban. He would wear a turban. Right? So my son initially had a lot of challenges in adjusting, because we did not go to an area which was populated by a South Asian community.
Got it.
Because like we were like, okay, you know what? We just chose to live in an area which was more multicultural, instead of just coming from India and going to another India. We decided a different approach for our child, for our own networking, getting into our careers, and for that. So that is a decision that we made of taking a residence not in a South Asian community. So
Understood.
some decisions we took, yeah, yeah. So he found it a little hard to adjust. He was a 6-year-old kid, and that was one thing. Yeah, but things started falling in place.
Got it.
It takes time, getting your driver's license. Everything is a challenge, right? You're trying to navigate through a bus system. You're just having one car at that time, and tech was not that much, right? You have all these apps right now to make your life easy. And I say, like, technology, I'm a techie myself. I love technology. And it wasn't that too many things were not there. So, you were juggling, you were figuring out things. So, initial year is a tough ball
Yeah.
game altogether, settling into a new country. So that was it. Like, I think it happens with everybody. It happened with us too. So that's what it is. Yeah.
Got it. I mean, again, moving from one country to other country is a big move, and there will be always the settlement phase. Everybody has to go through it. I think some of the
Yes.
key points that I take away was, because of lack of lot of information available, I think there is some expectation in terms of how quickly you can get in the careers, the expenses, or something. That's just maybe the takeaway. So sounds like I think you are going through the settlement phase and slowly getting into the rhythm. So why the reason to move back to India instead of giving it a try and continue so that you can get back into your education or your husband into business. So what happened and why the move to India?
Okay, so the thing was that my husband had not shut his business in India.
Okay.
So it was in on papers it was running, and some part of it was running at that time. So clearly we had not burned the bridges.
Yeah.
He had not burned the bridges actually. So that was it. And he's the only son, and always lived with family. So when parents came here, they left. He explored a few businesses, and then he realized that it demands a lot of investment.
Yeah.
Setting up a business, like, again, I would say lack of information, or whatever research that he did, the kind of business that he wanted to open,
Yeah.
it was actually requiring a lot of, any business that he was comfortable in starting was requiring a lot of investment.
Yeah.
So it was a decision that we had to make, whether to sell off everything that we have in India to bring all that investment and start off as a business, because he did not intend to work, start a job. He did not want to
Sure.
do a job at that time. So then, all the calculations and the decisions, we decided that, I'll just simplify it in a way. When you have to stay in a place, you find 1,000 reasons to stay in a place.
Yes.
And when you don't want to stay in a place, you find out 1 lakh reasons to not stay in that place.
Yeah.
So, a calculation is like, okay, we're going to be giving mortgage for 30 years. Interest is going to be too much. It's more of an interest that you're paying. It's not easy. So, your mind starts going towards the direction, okay, it is going to be not a good thing. Also, our background was very different to what a background of other people would look like. So we have family home in India, like that is fully paid off. So we had to make a decision that if we had to restart everything here, whether selling off everything in India would be a right decision or no. So we were in a very big turmoil. So, like, as Canada, it's different from the US. So Canada permits you to complete your PR obligated days within the 5 years that you have to live in Canada. So that's how it is. So it is very different from the US. So, like, we could have gone back easily and then come back even one day before our PR obligation was expiring, and then decide to stay another 2 years, and our PR would have been renewed. So that's the same thing that we did.
Okay.
So yeah, so for that time we were very confused, and we had to renew the rent of the house that we were staying in.
Yeah.
So that it was that time we had to make a decision. Okay, you know what? We were very confused at that time. very, very confused. And we said, okay, you know what? We've got our PRs. Let's give ourselves a few more years to decide what is the right choice and what is the right thing for us. Let's not make a hazy decision because we were not very clear.
Yeah.
We were not clear. So we went back and went back and then we stayed. We lived there and then decided to come back in 2021.
Got it. No, thanks for sharing that. So sounds like I think it's the expectations and learning the information while staying in Canada and analyzing the pros and cons and making a decision, when the lease is up for renewal and, for different factors, right? Just need to make a
Yes,
decision.
yes.
Um,
Yeah, we had to buy another car. Like we
yes.
had one car. We had to buy another car, whether or not to buy it. So before that, we thought, okay, we are not sure
Yeah.
100% that we see ourselves living here
Yeah.
or not. So let's give ourselves time to think over it. And we had an option. A lot of
Yes.
people don't have an option. We had a house to go back to.
Yeah.
My husband had a business to go back to. I had a job to go back to, right? So things were settled in our case. It wasn't like a lot of people do face. So we were blessed in that way.
Yeah.
So that we had something to look up to when we were returning.
Got it. So you have decided to move back to India. So for how long have you lived in India and how was the life? Like, after experiencing a year in Canada, you get a different perspectives, right? So while
Mhm.
continuing in India, how was the life? And then why the thought of coming back to Canada? We can come to that.
Okay, so honestly, it's going to sound very funny, and it is, people will have different opinions, but I found it not very comfortable going back and living there. Although my husband and my son were in a better space because they're more, it depends upon their nature, like your
Yes.
personal nature, and then they were more comfortable because they were in their happy spaces. My son had, going to live with his grandparents. He has a bigger house, a comfortable space. My husband, although my husband technically had to restart his
Hmm.
work, because you know what, once you leave it for a prolonged period, it's not that the
Yeah.
same thing. So there were a lot of hardships that he had to go through to restart again, to have the same clientele and reset up everything, buy a lot of things, make further investments. But I wasn't very happy with
Yeah.
the move. I wasn't very happy with the move. I had started really liking the culture. I was working in a bank when I was in Canada at that time. I had not received my license at that time. However, I was not very comfortable with the way. I would say, it was I had gotten used to living here. The comfort, the facilities, people would say different things, but everything is at ease. Like, going to a doctor, believe me or not, like going to a doctor, to a specialist in India is, people say, you spend money and you go there, but it's not that easy as sometimes it's not. Like, I was suffering from an autoimmune disorder, and the doctor that I had to visit in Ludhiana, I had to wait an entire night to get his appointment. He's a very famous gastroenterologist in Ludhiana. So, and then one time I had to go see another specialist in Delhi because of my illness. So it was a whole challenge to visit a specialist, go to the hospitals. Here, my experience was very comfortable,
Hmm.
going to the doctor, visiting the specialist, actually getting medications for the things that I have, like having a correct diagnosis. So I was diagnosed with here in Canada, not in India. Like
Okay.
India, like the doctors kept experimenting on what is the problem that I have. I was treated for multiple things before we figured out that I have an autoimmune disorder. And it is what the treatment that I received in Canada actually helped me recover. So, health perspective, I was feeling better here in terms of environment, in terms of safety, going out at night, coming late at night, all of that, I was feeling better. My son had started settling. I had started really enjoying the education system here, the school system here, the classroom size, the kind of, I would not say rote learning, not a lot of pressure on kids because I'm an educator myself. I understand the difference between a pressured education and an overall education. I started liking that. So yeah, so I wasn't very, very happy. And then when I returned back to my old job, I had to restart
Hmm.
from scratch. You are at a certain level and in a number of years of experience, it's not that you just go and everything is in the platter for you. No. So I had to restart every, like, from the scratch, which was not very I wasn't very happy with that thing,
Yeah.
because you have a bunch of experience, you know what you're capable of, and then but you had to restart, because also, we have to think from our own perspective, because I come from a small town where there were not many options, right? So not the jobs are not floating around, the opportunities are not floating around, there are minimum opportunities that you could go grab onto, right? So yeah, that was the case. And yeah, it was fine. It is what it is.
Got it.
So I started settling in, yeah, then finally settled.
So maybe just
uh,
curious, I think, to what you're explaining, if you're okay, right? I think sounds like it's not like everybody kind of got sold on the idea of moving back to India, right? I think, you kind of went from a settlement phase to, slowly
yes,
getting things worked out, getting
yes.
comfort with the lifestyle,
Hmm.
got a job, kid is kind of
Hmm.
settling in. So sounds like I think you're still not completely 100% on board about moving back to India from what
No,
I'm
I
seeing.
wasn't.
Yeah.
No, I
So
wasn't completely. No, now that I think back, but you know what? It is the decision. Like, when you're in you're a family. Me and my husband are not a separate unit, right?
yes.
We can keep the feminism on the side right now, but we are one unit. I've
Yes.
always believed that.
Yeah.
So we have to take a decision. Not I would not say he was right or I was wrong, or I was wrong or he or whatever. So we had to take a collective decision, and I went with his decision at that time,
Yeah.
because um, so I agreed
Yeah.
to most of what he had said,
Yeah.
although my heart wasn't with it, but my head kind of, my
Yeah.
brain kind of said, okay, that, what, we need to give ourselves time to make that big decision whether or not we want to live here or see ourselves living here. And
Yeah.
I would say my husband was sure, but I was confused. So
Yeah.
I would not say I did not buy the idea. I
Yeah.
was still confused whether
Yeah.
or not. So I
Yeah.
would just quote it like that.
Got it. So you moved back to India in 2017, and sounds like you lived there for some time, right? I think, you always missing something, but I think the life goes on, and uh, why things have changed, like how things have been with your husband and with the kid. Kid has had some struggle initially in Canada when moved.
Yes.
So when moving
Mhm.
back, I think he's an excited, so that because he's going to spend time with grandparents and everything's in
Yes.
a comfortable life. So how was life for them and for you as time passed by in India, and why these thoughts of moving back to Canada occurred?
Okay, my husband, the first year again after we moved back was very hard for all three of us.
Okay.
Personally, no. At home, no, it wasn't
Yes.
hard, because my in-laws, we have a family house. My
Yeah.
in-laws are, they're highly educated, and they're like government or like officials retired.
Yeah.
So it was not very hard. It's a comfortable home that we went to. um, it was hard in terms of our careers and our professions.
Yeah.
So that was very hard. Then, you know what, I had gotten used to cooking in a certain way. I had gotten used to following the lifestyle in a certain way. India, work life balance, I don't know. Maybe, things are getting better, but uh, there's nothing called work life balance in India, right? So you're working, like, I used to work 6 days a week. There's no 5-day work culture where I worked. I
Yeah.
was working 6 days a week, and um, of course, you have the household help and everything, but of course there's a different dynamic altogether, right? How much can you depend upon the household help, the housekeepers? You are a woman of the house. You have to take charge, and you have to do that. So it's not that you don't do anything. You get a lot of help. But I was very comfortable living in Canada. As to, like, people say there's a lot of work. Like, if you organize and manage yourself for a small family like ours,
Yeah.
like just one kid, and my kid is not you're very, very smart and a settled kid, very independent at that time. And, we're millennials, right? So my
Yeah.
husband is equally helping out. And it's not like it's a big deal if you're living in Canada, you're doing so many chores, this, that. It was a family. We were working as a family, and things were good. Things were
Yeah.
okay. So when we moved back, professionally, it was very challenging for all both of us, and for my son also.
Hmm.
It wasn't an easy ball game because you do languages in India, right?
Yes.
Like you do there, there's Punjabi is compulsory in schools, um, Hindi is compulsory in schools, right? So here he wasn't doing those languages. Plus, the way education and teaching learning works here in Canada is way different. It's not that you're rote learning answers. It's not that you're solving mental math for 10, 20 pages. Like, you just one question and you need do it through different ways. Because he was, still in grade one, three of us, it was difficult for us to settle down.
Got it.
Took us a good year to settle down.
Okay. So took a 1 year, and then you never thought about moving back to Canada, like, in a similar phase, like where you are, because there is no any important decision that you need to make, but you continued the life. So just curious, like why you continued the life, and yeah, and
Um, no, we actually, somewhere back of our mind, we always thought that we need to complete the PR obligation. We always had this thought. We actually regretted a lot that instead of just coming back after a year, we should have actually stayed there for about 3 years, taken our citizenship, and then moved back. Not because of um, not because of us. Honestly, we had thought that it is going to be not because like citizenship is going to, is a big thing. Even like, it's not that the kids would need it. But if you think from a long term perspective, if you've already put so much of time, energy, money in moving to a country,
yeah,
getting its PR, why would you want your child to restart
yeah,
from where you started, right? So we wanted to make sure that at least he has a PR or a citizenship. So if any time he wants to move there for his higher education, or eventually stays here and then move to the US or any other country, I thought that instead of going through Indian way, it's going to be easier for him to navigate through Canada,
yeah,
because of course, like, the citizens pay one fourth of the fees of what the international
internet.
students, right?
Yeah,
So economically, we had thought of that. And then we did regret at that time that, if we actually had to move back, we should have moved back after 3.5, 4 years, so that we could have gotten our citizenships and then moved back, at least me and my son.
yeah,
But my husband had a different point of view at that time. He said that if we would have stayed there for 4 years, we would have never been able to move back.
yeah,
So he negotiated that, my son would have just simply said no to moving back, because he would have been in middle school at that time, and he would have settled so well that then coming back and settling in India would have been not a possibility, neither for my husband nor for me, because I would have gotten into education here,
yes,
earning 10 times more than what I was earning in India. And he would have definitely found out a way, and my son would have settled down. So, whatever happens, I think happens for good.
yeah.
So this is what happened with us. So we moved back after a year. We did think about that, but it is what it is. Yeah.
Got it. So it was always there in the back of the mind, but you had the
Yes.
life
100%.
continued, as things move along. So
100%
sounds,
was
yeah.
there.
And so sounds like maybe it's because of this PR reason you have decided to
Yes.
move back to
Yes.
Canada. So like maybe you can think through. I mean, I think as the life moves on, which is something in the
Yes.
back of your mind about the PR. So maybe there might be
Yes.
another situation where you have to make a decisions, right? So
Yes.
maybe you can walk through us where you all three of you are as a family, right? Because you mentioned about some initial struggles, for your husband professionally for restarting the business.
Yes.
Maybe after
Yes.
spending 3 more years in India, maybe things
Yeah.
might have been moving along, but where is
Yes.
everyone? And how was the decision made about this PR thing?
Okay, so kind of we had decided that although we have to, so what was happening was I was coming to Canada every year.
Oh, okay.
since 2018, and I was trying to complete 2 months, 2.5 months with my son,
Yeah.
because our plan was to not come back to Canada,
Okay.
but just complete our days to complete our PR obligation and then eventually have our citizenship for our son. So we had planned it that way.
Okay.
But what happened was pandemic struck, COVID
Yes.
happened. So so that's a twist in our story.
Yeah.
So then, because of the pandemic, we could not come for 2 years.
Oh, yes.
Yes. So that way, our PR, the date and time was expiring. And in our case, the situation was so funny, and I have never seen that with a lot of people. So my son's PR was expiring in February 2021, mine
Okay.
in July 2021, and my husband's in September 2021.
Hmm.
All different. Although we got the PR at the same on the same date in March 2016, but
Okay.
ours were expiring in, maybe they knew that we are not we are a hard cookie to crack, so they tricked us.
Yeah.
So I had to return back before 2021 February.
Okay.
That's what we hired a lawyer
Yeah.
as to, like, what are we going to do now? Like, I could not complete my days, but we want a PR for this thing for at least our son. So then we came back in 2021, and then yeah, like, as I say, that when you decide to stay, then you have thousand reasons that makes you stay
Yeah.
here. Yes. Mhm.
So sounds like I think you have to make a decision to be back in Canada by February 2021 because of the expiration of
Yes.
the PRs.
Yes.
So
Yes.
just curious, how is your husband doing in terms of the business at that time? Like, because he's one of the biggest factor to think about moving back to India. So just curious because he
Yeah.
has to restart his career again. And so
Yeah.
how is he doing? And is he already like made up his mind maybe to just if you can share some insights if
Sure.
you're okay with that.
So my husband is into multiple things. He is a hardcore businessman, so he is into multiple things, right? He was running his manufacturing unit. He does trading, and he also does a lot of other things. He's self-employed, so he does a lot of other things in terms of, he has a trading portfolio,
Yeah.
and he has other kind of portfolios. So he does that. So pandemic had actually disrupted his business again, the
Oh, yeah.
manufacturing unit.
Yes.
Whatever he was doing on the side, as his freelancing, that was going on very well. However, the industry had stuck really bad, especially northern India, Punjab, that had been affected a lot.
Yeah.
So again, that was a decision that had to be made, whether to put in a lot of money into that business. And then, he was into a business that is a dying industry, actually.
Okay.
Either it needs to be revolutionized, or it had to be, there had to be something done to that.
Got it.
So a lot of money had to be pumped into it, or it had to be directed to a different thing. So that was a decision that had made. However, the decision wasn't made until, because the lawyer told us that um, within few months our PRs will be renewed.
Okay.
And my husband said that he will forego his PR, and only me and my son can keep it,
Yeah.
and let it be. And then he will pump up all the money, and he will restructure and reestablish his business. So that was the plan.
Hmm.
However, when we came to Canada, so that is the time when the lawyer suggested that my son has to restart school here. I have to get a job here too, because of our profile. We could not complete the obligated days. So all of those things started popping up when
Okay.
we actually came here.
Okay.
So I came here. I was living. In fact, my teaching license had arrived in 2017 itself,
Hmm.
and I had not even renewed my teaching license. I was like,
Hmm.
okay, you know what? No, I'm settled here. My family is happy. Although, we're see, there's nothing like India.
Yeah.
Believe me. There's, a lot of people, I hear that eventually we will go and retire there. There's something, there are a lot of, I hear a lot of things, about the environment, about things happening around with the mental health issues, all of that I'm hearing. But there's something deep within that that gives you that comfort, that thing that is back home, your own country. Also because you grew up, Canadians,
Yeah.
probably the ones who've grown up here, they have that kind of a thing, right?
Yeah.
So uh, so you know what, there was no plan, like,
Yeah.
we wanted to, we were happy with whatever we had, and the biggest thing, that a house, in everybody's life, biggest thing is you need to have a shelter. You're just not paying off, it's a paid off house that we had. So that was it. So but then we came in, and then we started figuring out that these are the things that we need. So then eventually we started working towards all those goals, just because we wanted our PR obligation to be completed.
Yeah.
And my husband had to make a decision. And then we eventually figured out that we will not be able to complete our PR obligation. It might take whatever time we have spent, that's just a complete waste.
Oh, okay.
So whatever time the first year we spent, because of the pandemic, the 5 years had surpassed.
Got it.
So because of that, I could not complete whatever time I was lacking a few months. We could not do it, and we had to restart the whole process. And we didn't know when our PR will be renewed. We had no idea.
Yeah.
We had just applied for it, and we were on the applied status. And then eventually, we started. We have to find a job. We have to get into our careers. And then so I got a job. My son started a school, and then he was doing online school because it was pandemic at that time.
Yeah.
So when nothing came, no result came of our PRs. We have no clue. We're calling. Everything is lagging behind because of the pandemic. Everything is everywhere.
Yeah.
So now it's his time for his PR obligation to expire. So now if his PR card expires, he's not going to be able to come here. And I would not be able to go back because I don't have a PR. I am in an applied status, and he cannot come here. So we did not want to live.
Yeah.
I did not at that. And I see a lot of families living separately. They make those decisions. But for our family and my son, I did not want to live separately. We had
Yeah.
already spent 6 months separately, but I did not want to make that decision. Neither did my husband.
Yeah.
So then we thought that, okay, you know what? Instead of pumping in the money into that business, which is already a dying industry, let's think about and try again. And again, we were in our early 30s.
Yeah.
We are like we are young. We were young parents.
Yeah.
You can think it from a perspective that we became successful in our careers at a very young age.
Yeah.
I started working since I was 21 years, 22 years old, right? And he was working since he was 18 years old. So, we got success in our careers at a very young age.
Yeah.
We struggled, we established ourselves in our careers. So then we thought, okay, we're in an early 30s. What a big deal, let's try.
Yeah.
And we'll see. We're educated. We'll see where the life goes.
Okay.
So, yeah, then we came here. I landed a very good job. My Indian experience was considered here. I landed a government job, and eventually I put my son in the school, and then started exploring, because my son started exploring another alternative fields. He's very much into sports, athletics, all those things. And then I realized that living here in Canada will give him a lot of flexibility to pursue his career.
Okay.
In terms of if you want to homeschool him, or in terms of, like in Canada, you can do high school in a span of multiple years.
Yeah.
You can drop off and restart. But in India at that time, I didn't explore those options, or I didn't know if those options exist, right? Or he could do half day school, or he could do an alternative school, and I am always from a thought process that not pushing a child academically, like, because being an educator, I always feel that, a happy, healthy child will figure out everything, let him pursue his passions, and eventually do that. So started seeing all the positives. I started seeing all the positives of being here. Work-life balance was amazing. I loved my job here. I liked my job there too. But the 5-day teachers get a lot of benefits here in terms of a government. Like, I am not getting in a private school. If you read about, the kind of workload that's there for teachers, the kind of things that are there. It's very different here.
Yes.
Very well respected. It's a very well respected job.
Hmm.
And the work-life balance is amazing, right? You don't have to ask for a holiday.
Yeah.
You don't have to, you just do it, right? You have a 2.5 month vacation, paid vacation.
Yeah.
Then you have a winter. So like, it's a very, I would not say it's a la la land job. It is a lot of hard work, but which job is not a hard work?
Yeah,
Like,
for
where
sure.
are you not, where are you not working? So
Yeah.
if your passion is your profession, if you love what you're doing, and if you see from a perspective, I always say this thing: if you're as an immigrant, if your job allows you to pick and drop off your kid, attend all the sports and other activities, events, spend time with them, you are successful.
Yeah.
Because as a first generation immigrant, you are so engrossed in settling that you miss that part. A lot of them, you're just juggling with the household, and we faced that in the first year that we were here. Not taking care of the child, not having any family time, juggling. So I feel that then, all the things started falling in place, and here we are.
Great. No, thanks a lot for sharing that, specifics and the thought process, right? Because it helps to put a context and what made the decision to change. So sounds like I think your husband has joined, and I think, everyone got settled in their own thing. Just curious, I think, you mentioned something about the kid in the first year, right? So were you very conscious, like in the second time moving back to Canada, like which neighborhood you want to select, or just curious on that? Yeah.
We were very no I did not again go to the south. I decided. So again, I chose a neighborhood which had better schools
Yeah.
and better prospects. I did not look at the community as a
Yeah.
whole, but I looked at the other factors, and then I also looked at the factors as not to go in a community which is very expensive too, right? Because I knew that initial struggle, I don't want to bump into the whatever mistakes that I did previously,
Yeah.
right? I didn't want to do those mistakes. So chose the location very, very, very carefully.
Yeah.
Very carefully, and we just chosen, and we wanted to have an apartment this time.
Yeah.
So that is one thing, because we did not want to get into the hassle of maintaining a house
Yes.
right now. We wanted to settle first before we even think about
Yeah.
all the challenges I had faced while maintaining a house. There are hidden expenses, and there are hidden challenges that you come across. I just wanted to focus on my child and my career and settling first before we even think about getting a house or whatever.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Good. So sounds like I think you're happy there. You like, I think, the different aspects that are available in Canada, like, with the different aspects. So maybe to wrap this up, from your own experience and from your own journey, when you look back, how you have made decision first time moving back to India and then moving back again to Canada, is there anything that you would advise for people who are thinking about it, right? I mean, they haven't made a decision. They're thinking about either staying abroad or moving back to India. Any insights or any advice that you would give from your perspective?
I was after I came back to India to Canada in 2021. I visited India first time in 4 years. I did not even go back to India.
Okay.
My husband and my son traveled. I did not. I just didn't want to go back to India.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I love India, and then maybe, and you know what? I'll tell you the reason why I did not want to go, and I realized it. I didn't want to acknowledge that fact. So I went to India after 4 years, and coming back was so heartbreaking. Even though I'm very happy here, but leaving my home, leaving my street, my room, my place, that is my place. Despite I'm very happy here, I'm settled, I love the work culture here, but there is something about your home, right? Two places can be home too. Canada is
Sure.
home
Yes.
too.
Yeah,
Two
definitely.
places can be home too. Home is people, right?
Yeah.
Home is people. Home is where you are. So I mean, I went to India. I saw that the competition has increased in terms of, education. When I was thinking, did I make the right? Because still, did I make the right decision? What did I do? Did it do? It's crazy. The housing prices are skyrocketing. Like we went to see a flat in India, in Ludhiana, which is not even a high rise
Yeah.
favorable
Um,
city. 3.5 crores,
yeah.
a three bedroom, like easy, beautiful, beautiful, but 3.5 crores. A good locality, if you want to go live in a good locality, just a piece of land is costing crores of rupees, and then building a house on it.
Yeah.
um, Globalization is there. People used to say that kids in the West are very far ahead. I would say kids in India are matching up
Yeah.
or ahead of, especially in North India. Kids, it's, information is everywhere. So if we think that, kids will come outside, they will lose their culture. I think, honestly, I feel that kids of first generation immigrants in Canada are more rooted than the kids in India. They are more westernized.
Yeah.
They are more westernized, especially in the North India. Like they're more into you know uh,
And different things like, the
westernization
westernized
of
culture. Yeah.
brands and things like that. Everything is, they're getting everything now, and
Yeah.
they want to explore everything, which is good. And everything is quite similar. So I would
Yeah.
not say that West is not the right place to raise kids. It's hard to raise kids at all levels, at all places. You need to
Yeah.
have very strong family values to raise good kids.
Yeah.
That's what I would say. And yeah, there were certain things that I saw when I went to India. um, there are always going to be pros and cons of two
Sure.
different places. There's never a white and a black. It's a gray area. Immigration, coming to a different, it's a gray area. It's your own perspective and your own personal thing. And I would just say, if I wouldn't have gotten a government job, if I wouldn't have landed a high paying job, or my husband wouldn't have been settled financially,
Yeah.
then it would have been a nightmare again.
Yeah.
Money plays a very, very big role
Yeah.
in where you're going to be settled, right? If you are thinking about buying every single thing, negotiating for grocery prices and things like that, life becomes very hard and challenging, right?
Yeah.
So it is never like suggesting anybody. I would say leaving your comfort zone is a big thing. It could be leaving your city, or leaving the current business that you're doing, for growth perspective, or experiencing new things. I think that is the thing that I would suggest. Not just leaving the country and going to another country.
Yeah.
Not everybody finds peace. Not everybody finds success. Not everybody can get everything, right? I see a lot of people want to retire in India now. Okay, that's my long term plan too. Eventually, maybe I would retire maybe in Goa or a place like that.
Yeah.
So, but right now it's our prime, and we want to explore opportunities. We want to see, and then we want to give this chance. We want to give this opportunity to our son to make a decision. Where
Yes.
does he want to live?
Yeah.
Whichever place,
Yeah.
now it is an open world for him. It's easy world for him. He is like, kids here start working at the age of 15, 16.
Yes.
He's going to come back at a 16-year-old. He's going to start getting a job. So a lot of exposure is here in terms of dependency is less. He
Yeah.
takes a bus to school, more safety. He does not drive a car like his other friends in India. They started driving a car without a license. I'm like, oh my God, kids are doing these things.
Yeah.
So there are certain pros and cons.
For sure.
So exploring, yeah, but it was very heartbreaking when I left. And probably that's the reason I did not want to go back, so that my mind and my heart doesn't dwindle again.
Yeah. No, thanks a
um,
lot for sharing. So sounds like, again, no place is perfect. And I think that
no,
underlining thing is we're getting more globalized. I think, you can have multiple homes, spend, few
yes.
months
Mhm.
abroad, few months
Yeah.
India, depending where your kids, family, at the end of the day, it's
Mhm.
just becoming much more like a globalized.
Mhm.
That's what I see. And at a given stage of life, what makes you, what's more priority for you? And that drives it.
Yes.
And then the
At
other big,
specific stage. Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
And the
yes,
other
yes.
big thing is the financial stability. Wherever you are, that plays a big role in terms of the life
Yes.
comfort and some of the basic things, right? Just to make
Most
sure you're not thinking
definitely.
about those things, right? So
Yes.
that plays a
Yes.
big role. So thank you very much for taking the time and being very candid and sharing your journey with us, right? Especially like, a lot of people might not come forward for stories that are not like, rosy and, all successful, someone where you have to go through, a
Multiple
situation where,
failures.
yeah,
Multiple failures. Yes.
you have to come back and
Multiple
then,
failures professionally, personally, different kind of professions that are not, a profession like an IT
yeah,
is the same all over. A profession like maybe a chartered accountant, accounting is same, similar around the world, right? But at a different profession, the
yeah,
challenges are very varied. So yeah,
yes,
if
definitely.
somebody wants to take something out of my journey is that
Definitely. I mean, there is
just
a value, right? I mean, I think each story is unique. Each story, helps people to think through, hey, uh, maybe if I'm in a situation, maybe I have to think through a little bit differently, right? I think they definitely would be, getting a lot of insights. And I personally believe even if it helps like 5 people, it's worth it. I think, you made an
yeah,
impact in their big decision. So
yeah.
once again, thanks a lot. And, for taking the time and sharing your journey with us.
It was pleasure meeting you.
Great.
All right. Thank you very much. Bye bye.